All right, all right. I think I'm live. Been live for 7 minutes. Yep, I'm live. Okay. Let's see here. See if I can see the comments. Want to see if I can see the comments. Let's see. Nope. Nope. Don't want that. All right, so let me make this. Okay. I want to see if all messages are visible. May not be visible. Okay, so I think all the messages are visible right now. I made all messages visible. Okay, so I'm live now on YouTube. This is Brian J signing on, and I'm live. I think the camera's over here. I'm supposed to look at the camera over here on my iPad. Yeah, so Pactards are still crazy. The Manny Pacquiao fans are still crazy. Like after the Pacquiao-Broner fight, they're talking big because apparently Pacquiao beating Broner is this huge, humongous accomplishment when it's not even a big accomplishment at this point. It would have been a bigger accomplishment if Pacquiao fought Broner 5 years ago, or 6 years ago when Broner was undefeated, and beating everybody's ass, 130 and 135. And he moved up and he fought, Paulie Malignaggi with some paper title, paper championship over at 147 pounds. Being Broner now doesn't really mean anything because Broner has already had 3 losses. Broner probably had, 5, maybe 6 losses already because I thought he probably lost to Daniel Ponce de Leon and he got a one-sided scorecard and some other judge gave him 6 rounds, but one judge gave him 9 rounds, which was bogus. And, Broner, I thought possibly lost to Adrian Granados. So that's 5 losses already. Well, yeah. I mean, Broner he's an okay fighter. He's a decent fighter, but he's not a great fighter. He's not a good fighter. He's not talented enough, and he kind of has an identity crisis. He doesn't know whether to be very offensive-minded and throw a lot of punches or to be like Floyd Mayweather and focus on defense. And he's pot-shotting and not putting all of his punches, his power into his punches because he's afraid of getting countered and, possibly getting knocked out or possibly getting hurt badly in his fights. Against Pacquiao, he could have gone for broke and throw wild punches and really throw a lot of power punches, but he didn't want to get badly hurt. He didn't want to go toe-to-toe with Pacquiao and possibly get destroyed by Pacquiao's body punches. It's... Hold on, I'm texting right now. Give me a second. Okay. All right. Broner did not want to sit on his punches, stand there with both of his feet planted, and to throw haymakers. Just throw haymakers and see if he can land a really big shot that could hurt Pacquiao. Because he knows if you try to stand there and go toe-to-toe against Pacquiao, he's going to destroy you. He's just going to mop the floor with you. Because Pacquiao is so short. He's like 5'6", and he has the perfect center of gravity. He has the perfect center of gravity, and he's just going to stand there and try to knock your ass out. He's just going to stand there. I mean, he moves in and out and side to side. He has great footwork, but if you try to go toe-to-toe and stand in one spot, he's going to crack you and he's going to hurt you badly. See, Jeff Horn was bullying Pacquiao from pillar to post, and Pacquiao was beaten, battered, and bruised, and Jeff Horn was really beating up Pacquiao going toe-to-toe. And he caught Pacquiao a few times. He rocked Pacquiao. He almost dropped him. He hurt him badly, I think in round 5 or round 6. I think it was round 6. And then Pacquiao came on strong and completely destroyed Jeff Horn and almost knocked him out. I mean, in round 9. Round 9 was a 10-8 round. But Pacquiao gassed out because I guess, Pacquiao isn't, he's not taking, steroids or juicing like he used to. So he gassed out after round 9 and he just had no energy and no pop to his punches. And he basically gave away the championship rounds. he possibly gave away the last 3 rounds. And so I had it 6 rounds to 6, and I gave the Pacquiao by 1 point because round 9 was a 10-8 round. But you could give Jeff Horn 7 rounds, and he won the fight because the fight was in Australia, and Jeff Horn, fought like a champion. He went to Pacquiao, put the pressure on Pacquiao, took the fight to him, battered him, beat him up, and took a lot of punishment in the process. But Jeff Horn did enough to win, and it was in his home country. So, you could call it a home cooking. But Pacquiao didn't look good. It was a cherry pick gone wrong. Jeff Horn was supposed to be an easier fight. And this is the problem with Pactards. Pacquiao's a great fighter, but they think, Pacquiao's going to destroy Errol Spence. It's going to beat Mikey Garcia. Look, if Pacquiao looked bad against Jeff Horn, a limited fighter, he's good, he's decent, but he's limited. It was really just a stepping stone that went horribly wrong for Pacquiao. What do you think Errol Spence is going to do to Pacquiao? I think Errol Spence is going to walk down Pacquiao and knock him out with a body shot or a couple straight left hands or left uppercuts. I think that's what Errol Spence is going to do. And Mikey Garcia, to me, is a bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic version of Errol Spence Jr. That's what I think. I think he's a stronger, bigger version of Juan Manuel Marquez. Mikey Garcia is a bigger, stronger, younger, more athletic version of Juan Manuel Marquez. Juan Manuel Marquez was Pacquiao's kryptonite because he was a great counterpuncher. And if you're fighting on the outside and you're countering, Pacquiao ends up lunging in a lot, and he becomes more one-dimensional, and you could counter him with the right hand. It's very textbook. It's textbook counterpunching. And Pacquiao's susceptible to that. Pacquiao, he's easier to hit when he's lunging in and trying to hit you with a straight left hand and picking his left foot up. Making a lot of mistakes. And even though Pacquiao is a great fighter, it's hypocritical to me that people always criticize Deontay Wilder and say how terrible his style is, and they praise Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao always picks his feet up too. I mean, he throws shorter, straighter punches than Deontay Wilder, but Pacquiao picks his feet up too and lunges in a lot and jumps in, sometimes with his hands down. What is that not a flawed style? Is that not amateurish? Pacquiao makes a lot of amateur mistakes, but he gets away with it because of how fast he is, how great his footwork is, and how incredibly strong he is, and how short he is. It's tough to time him because of how short he is. And he has the perfect center of gravity. But it's crazy how people shit on Pacquiao. Well, no, they shit on Deontay Wilder, but they praise Pacquiao. Granted, I admit that Pacquiao has greater accomplishments than Deontay Wilder. Wilder has only been one champion, and Wilder's only been one champion, and he's fought bums, mostly bums. The only two good fighters that he's fought are Tyson Fury and Luis Ortiz, and he beat the shit out of Luis Ortiz, and he beat Tyson Fury. And Joshua's ducking him for a reason, because Deontay Wilder can knock you out at any point in the fight, which is amazing. You would think a guy that big with all that muscle, he doesn't have bulky muscles, and that's probably why he has good stamina, because he has long, lean muscles. But you would think a guy that big, would gas out eventually, but he never gasses out, So anyways, it's the same old song and dance of Pactards. I think Pacquiao's going to beat Mayweather. I think Pacquiao's going to beat Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia. And these people are a bunch of idiots. Pactards have been morons for 10 years. And there have been a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of Pacquiao YouTube channels that have closed down. A lot of Pactards. A lot of Pactards have closed down. Yeah, it's crazy. It's pretty amazing, with Pactards. But, yeah, so I'm moving on from Pactards, because Pactards are going to be Pactards until Pacquiao retires. People make up excuses, he hurt his shoulder, which is real. I think it was a real injury, but that wasn't the reason he lost to Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather deals with injuries too, and he still wins. Mayweather's dominated people with 2 broken hands. So, come on. Which do you think is worse, a torn rotator cuff or broken hands? I think both are equally bad, but, come on, stop with the excuses. And now I'm going to move on from Pactards because I've already spent 10 minutes talking about Pactards and how stupid they are. I'm going to talk about, now I want to talk about Holly Holm versus Amanda Nunes. I want to talk about this fight. Dana White keeps giving Holly Holm all these chances. And to me, this is a testament for how shitty and how weak and how dry. Let's see, there's Alejandro Chavez. Oh, I got only one person so far watching. That's good. Only one person. All it takes is one. I saw the comment. Yeah, I think Amanda Nunes is going to beat Holly Holm. I don't know if it's going to be an easy fight because Holly Holm is very frustrating. Holly Holm, she has really great footwork and she has a good defense. She's just doesn't have a lot of power in her hands and she has no accuracy with her hands. That's a problem. She doesn't have a lot of accuracy with her striking. And that's been her biggest problem. But, Holly is very frustrating. And I think she could frustrate Amanda Nunes. And she could probably throw a bunch of punches and kicks. And she could probably outpoint Amanda Nunes. And she might do well on the scorecards. I could see the fight going the distance. But if Amanda Nunes counters well, if she could time Holly Holm's punches and combinations, she could probably knock her out. Yeah, I think if Amanda Nunes could time Holly Holm the way that Chris Cyborg managed to do it, and plus Chris Cyborg is so big and so strong, and she could hurt you with either punch. But if Amanda Nunes could counter and time Holly Holm really well, she could knock her out. And also, Amanda Nunes has bad weight cuts. She has bad weight cuts to 135, so we'll have to see how that plays out. Amanda Nunes didn't look good against Valentina, and most people thought Valentina won. I personally thought the fight was a draw, but I think Amanda Nunes I think her cardio will be an issue with her cutting down to 135. Amanda Nunes looked incredible at 145. She made the weight so easily, and she looked amazing physically. She looked so big and strong in comparison to Chris Cyborg, and so far she hasn't popped for performance-enhancing drugs or steroids, so apparently she's all natural so far. And she looked natural. I mean, she didn't, it's not like she had the type of body type and muscle mass that Chris Cyborg had. So Amanda Nunes, she's the greatest of all time, and she just looks so great. I think she should stay at 145 and defend the belt. Because she knows once Chris Cyborg leaves the division, Dana White's going to make women's flyweight, a big division. He's going to bring in 8 or 10 more female fighters at 145. Because Chris Cyborg has only one more fight on the contract. And Amanda Nunes wants Chris Cyborg to wait. And Chris Cyborg might just leave. She might go to PFL. She could get traded at PFL and fight for $1 million at 155. I think Chris Cyborg cuts too much weight to make 145. Chris Cyborg walks around at 180, 189, 190. She's a big girl. All the muscle mass she's accumulated. It's made her weight cuts really bad to make down to 145. She's losing 45 pounds to make weight. So I think she needs to just move up to 155 and fight in the PFL tournament and try to get $1 million. Because that would be really big if she fights, oh God, what's the girl's name at PFL right now? God, MMA, friggin', I'm losing her name, but she's a judoka artist, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, won a gold medal in 2012, 2016. Kayla Harrison, that's her name. I got it. Kayla Harrison in PFL. I mean, her and Chris Cyborg fighting in a tournament at PFL 155 would be great for PFL. They're already getting popular, and PFL focuses on the big women. The big women at 145 and 155. The UFC doesn't care about the big women. They don't give a shit. So, I mean, PFL, the UFC is kind of a non-factor when it comes to the bigger women. Yeah, I got it. Kayla Harrison. But, yeah, they're non, PFL, yeah. They focus on the big women because the big women need to get paid too. But the reason why women's flyweight and bantamweight and lightweight are so weak is because the average woman doesn't walk around at 180 pounds. You know, the average woman is 5'6", 5'7", and I think, let me look this up. The average weight for a woman, let's see, what's the average weight for an American woman? I think the average weight for an American woman is in the 130s or 140s. Let's see, average weight for American women. I'm looking this up in Google. Okay. For females, yeah. Okay, so in Sweden, the average weight for a woman is 147 pounds. In the UK, it's 152. And those are just the average woman. I guess on average, maybe most of those women are not in fighting shape. You know, they're not in fighting shape. If they get in fighting shape, the average woman in the UK could fight at 125 pounds or 115. You know, women's flyweight is a dry division, but it could get better in like a year. It could get really, really good. And 115 is a great division, you know, in women's strawweight. Women's strawweight is a phenomenal division in the UFC and in one championship and across the board. It could also be a great division in Bellator if Scott Coker really makes that division, really focuses on that vision and does like a tournament for that weight class. And I want Scott Coker to do a tournament for women's flyweight because women's flyweight is terrible in Bellator. It's trash. So I want him to do like something like that. I want him to do a women's flyweight for that weight class, or a tournament for women's flyweight, and a tournament for women's bantamweight as well. I think that would be great. But yeah, in the United States, the average woman is 168 pounds. So, but America is like, you know, the second fattest country in America. I don't know if that's true. I haven't heard anything about that. Jessica Ai fighting Valentina Shevchenko. I don't know if that's true. But, you know, if that's true, then Jessica Ai is proven to be she might be a sheep in wolf's clothing. She talks all this shit. She wants to fight Valentina, but she doesn't want to fight her in February. She wants to fight her, you know, later. But Valentina wants to fight now. That's why I love Valentina Shevchenko. That's why I love Antonina Shevchenko, because they want to fight they're ready to fight at any given day. No questions asked, no excuses, no bullshit. Valentina Shevchenko wants to fight at any given day. What's Jessica Ai's excuse? Okay, look, Jessica Ai took a lot of punishment against Caitlin Kukujian. She took a lot of punishment, I admit that. So she probably needs like a month to recuperate, a month and a half, 2 months maybe. But Valentina took some punishment too against Joanna. Well, none. Well, it was very little. She took very little punishment. It was a one-sided fight, but, you know, Valentina took a few bumps and bruises here. But if this is true, then this just shows that, you know, Valentina has that warrior's mentality. Generation prepared. Generation prepared. Not generation scared, like Coach Shell Harrison on his channel. He said there's a difference between generation scared and generation prepared. You know, Valentina Shevchenko, doesn't matter. She just fought one of the greatest of all time in Joanna and did better than what Rose did in her rematch. You know, I rewatched the Rose-Joanna fight, and that was a closer fight to me than what the judges had it. I mean, I gave Rose 3 or 4 rounds, but Joanna had a lot of great moments. She did a lot of damage to Rose's leg and really bruised it up. But against Valentina, there was just no contest. There was just no contest. This is why Joanna never protested the decision. You know, in all the interviews Joanna did in the post-fight press conference, you know, she was crying and all sulking and shit, but she just had to admit it. You know, it was a one-sided fight and she got her ass kicked. There was no comparison. There was no competition. Valentina clearly won 4 or 5 rounds. You know, Valentina won 4 or 5 rounds in that entire fight. You know, the only round you could give Joanna is probably round 5. You have a good night, man. You have a good night. Yeah, going live. But you could give Joanna maybe the 5th round, but even Valentina was still landing the harder strikes with her hands. You know. Now, I still, even with that being said, I still have to put Rose Namajunas, you know, number 2 on the women's pound for pound list. Number 1 is Amanda Nunes. Number 2, Rose Namajunas, and then number 3, Valentina Shevchenko. You know, and the reason why is because Rose completely destroyed Joanna in the first fight. In the first fight, there was no contest with that either. You know, it was just a shellacking. It was a destruction. You know, so I have to put Rose in number 2. But I admit that Valentina looked better against Joanna than Rose looked against Joanna in her rematch. But yeah, man, Jessica Ai, that's true. And then Jessica Ai, she's all bark and no bite, you know. But yeah, I think Holly Holm's fight against Amanda Nunes is going to be a close fight. It will be frustrating for Amanda. But if Amanda times her right hand just right when Holly Holm is coming in with her predictable kickboxing combination that she telegraphs a lot because she screams and makes noises when she does it. If that happens, I think Amanda is going to knock out. I think Amanda's going to knock out Holly Holm, or Amanda could take her down and submit her or win by ground and pound, like what she did against Germaine Durandamy. Now, granted, that was against a Germaine Durandamy who didn't know how to do takedown defense, who was still learning. The Germaine Durandamy of today would probably do a whole lot better. I think Germaine Durandamy would do a hell of a lot better. But the reason that Holly Holm is fighting Amanda Nunes is because Holly Holm has never fought Amanda Nunes. You know, Germaine Durandamy looked just as good against Rocky Pennington as Amanda Nunes. She beat the living shit out of her. But Germaine isn't fighting Amanda because that first fight was very one-sided. You know, and the fight between Germaine Durandamy and Holly Holm had a lot of controversy and it wasn't an exciting fight. So Dana White is caught between a rock and a hard place. I mean, he could make Amanda Nunes fight Chris Cyborg again and have Germaine Durandamy and Holly Holm fight for the interim belt for bantamweight or for featherweight. I thought that would have been better. But Caitlin Vieira should be fighting for the women's bantamweight belt. How many victories does she have? She has like 3 victories, I think. I mean, Caitlin Vieira has a lot of victories. I mean, I haven't heard a lot about Caitlin Vieira. I have to look up who she's fighting right now. But yeah, to get back on my point on what I was saying about the reason that women's atomweight and strawweight and flyweight are more packed divisions than women's bantamweight, featherweight, and lightweight is because the average woman in America and abroad walk around at 150 and 160 pounds. Or women in America walk around 168 pounds. But those are women who are really, on average, women are bigger. They're usually overweight. You know, if those women got into fighting shape, they could shed off at least 40 pounds. You know? And so they could fight at 115 or 105. So I think it's I guess it's like logistics. You know, the average woman is not as big as the average man. Men are usually bigger. That's why for men's MMA, you know, 145, 155, and 170 are incredible divisions. You know, men's welterweight at 170 is extraordinary. You know, that's probably the best division in men's MMA. And Tyron Woodley is beating everybody. He's beating top contender after top contender because he's forced to. He wants super fights. You know, he wanted a super fight against Nick Diaz, and Dana White said, nah, you're not at that level. You know, you're not on that level of a draw where you could demand certain special privileges that Conor McGregor gets, you know. Conor McGregor gets special privileges because he puts asses in the seats. He puts everybody in the seats. Let's see here. Whatever that means. Yeah, Caitlin Vieira is 10-0. She's still undefeated. You know, but I mean, and her best victories are against Sarah McMahon and Kat Zingano. You know, Sarah McMahon is not a good fighter. I mean, she's a good wrestler, but in terms of MMA, she's not good at doing everything. Her ground and pound and her striking is terrible. Her stand-up also isn't that good either. But she's a good wrestler. Kat Zingano is a great wrestler for women's MMA. And, you know, her stand-up is okay, her striking is okay, but... Yeah, Caitlin Vieira had a fight signed up. She was supposed to fight... she was supposed to fight Tanya Effinger, but that never panned out. That never went anywhere. Let me look up her next fight. I think she's supposed to fight somebody. Let's see, next fight. I thought she was supposed to fight Tanya Effinger, but Tanya Effinger was injured. Yeah, she was supposed to fight in Sao Paulo against Tanya Effinger. Oh, okay. Caitlin Vieira is injured. That's what it is. Yeah, Caitlin Vieira out of UFC Sao Paulo fight with Tanya Effinger will require surgery. That was announced on August 27th, 2018 on SB Nation. Right, so, yeah, she's injured. And she's going to get surgery. So she's out of the loop. She's out of there. You know, Marion Renault got fucked over because Marion Renault wanted a title eliminator against Caitlin Vieira. And Kat Zingano should have fought, like, you know, Cheesecake, Sarah Moras, or somebody else who's not even ranked. You know, to get herself back into title contention. You know. But the UFC does a lot of these women dirty. You know. UFC does a lot of these women dirty. I don't know what the hell's wrong with the UFC. You know. Mary Renault deserves better. She should have fought Kat Zingano for a title eliminator, and then the winner of that fight Amanda Nunes. But it is what it is. I mean, you know, it just sucks. You know, the way that a lot of the women get treated. Especially women of color. That's also not good. But, anyways, moving on from the Holly Holm Amanda Nunes fiasco, because I think I spent like 20 minutes talking about that. Well, almost 20 minutes talking about that. I think Amanda Nunes is going to win by TKO or submission or ground and pound. TKO against Holly Holm. Those are my predictions on the fight, and it's most likely going to happen. And Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade is going to fight. It's going to happen on the undercard. So the UFC card is going to be very packed. Looks like it's going to be a packed card. You know, you got two Brazilian women, Amanda Nunes versus Jessica Andrade fighting their opponents. You got Rose, who's a great fighter and a fan favorite. Everybody loves her. I love her. We all love Rose Namajunas. Then you got Holly Holm fighting Amanda Nunes. All right, so on to Keith Thurman. One-time Thurman getting exposed. This dude has a 2-year layoff. I think it was 22 months. He had a 22-month layoff. And he almost got knocked out by Josecito Lopez, which to me was really shocking and surprising. I guess it shouldn't be because Josecito Lopez, you know, he's an okay fighter. He's not great, but he's decent. And, you know, Robert Garcia, he trains his fighters to be very tough. You know, to be rough, tough, rugged fighters and to really take the fight to their opponent, to be rough on the inside and to never give up. Even if you get knocked down or you get hurt, to never give up. You know, that was Marcos Maidana's mentality against Floyd Mayweather. You know, it doesn't matter whether he's hurt or hit to the body. He was going to be rough, dirty, and hit Floyd with low blows and everything else. And Josecito Lopez wasn't dirty against Keith Thurman, but he almost knocked him out. I mean, he was just so... When he got knocked out, when he got dropped in the second round, it's like he turned into the Incredible Hulk, man. He just went nuts. And he was just tagging Keith Thurman with right hand after right hand after right hand. Like Thurman had no answer for Lopez's right hand. And then Josecito Lopez almost knocked out Keith Thurman in the 7th round. And I scored the 7th round, a 10-8 round. I gave Thurman 9 rounds in the fight. I thought Keith Thurman clearly won the fight. But you know, 7th round, I mean, he got his ass kicked. You know, he was getting his ass kicked in the second half of the fight. Like, after the first 6 rounds, I gave Lopez 3, maybe 4 rounds in the second half of the fight. To me, Lopez needed a knockout to win, or multiple knockdowns to really win the fight. But, yeah, man, it was a rough, tough fight for Lopez. But it was a rough, tough fight for Thurman. It was a very rough, tough, rugged fight for Thurman. But, yeah. Lopez really just blew my mind. And, you know, we got to get behind fighters like Josecito Lopez a lot more. Guys who are willing to fight everybody and put on a great fight every time they fight. You know, I mean, Lopez got destroyed by Canelo Alvarez, you know, almost 6.5 years ago because Canelo was just so naturally bigger than him. I mean, Canelo was a big, super welterweight. Canelo came in at 154 and blew up to 175. You know, Lopez, you know, in his previous fight, he fought at welterweight. And the fight before that, he fought at super lightweight. You know, Lopez for most of his career, he fought at 135. You know, then he moved up to 140, fought for a title. Then he moved up to 147 to fight Victor Ortiz. He was a replacement for Andre Berto because Andre Berto tested positive for a performance-enhancing drug. And so Victor Ortiz had to fight Lopez, and Lopez broke Victor Ortiz's jaw. He broke his jaw, and Victor Ortiz quit. And then Lopez fought Canelo Alvarez. And Canelo destroyed him. But that's Josecito Lopez's mentality, is that he's willing to fight anybody and everybody. He's willing to fight the best. You know, he fought Marcos Maidana, gave him one of the toughest fights of his whole career. I mean, Lopez was beating the hell out of Maidana until Maidana came back and knocked him out in the second half. But, yeah, man, Josecito Lopez is tough. He's tough. He was giving Andre Berto a tough fight until Berto knocked him out, which ended up giving Berto, you know, a big payday fight against Floyd Mayweather. A fight that he was never going to win, but that was a great payday for Berto. Berto made like $4 or $5 million fighting Floyd Mayweather. That was good for him. Yeah. So Josecito Lopez he's a beast. You know, I would love to see Keith Thurman fight Manny Pacquiao just so I could watch Manny Pacquiao destroy Keith Thurman. I just want to see that. I just want to see Pacquiao destroy Keith Thurman just to shut up Keith Thurman. You know, Thurman, you know, the entire time, he fooled us all. He took us all for a ride. You know, we thought he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Turned out he was a sheep in wolf's clothing. Turns out he was a sheep in wolf's clothing. Turns out he was not a warrior at all, didn't have a warrior's mentality. He ended up spending a lot of time in India, got surgery, getting married, you know, gave up his WBC belt, you know, and, you know, looking to fight a tune-up fight, and ended up looking bad in the tune-up fight. And I wants to fight Pacquiao, which, fine, let him fight Pacquiao. You know, Pacquiao's going to be, he's 40 years old. Pacquiao's 40 years old, so, you know, Thurman, if he's going to beat anybody, he could probably beat a 40-year-old Pacquiao. But Pacquiao hits really hard. And Thurman, you know, Broner's not a great defensive fighter. He's okay. But Thurman, to me, has a worse defense than Broner. Broner just doesn't let his hands go. And Broner, you know, he's terrible with the shoulder roll defense, and he leaves himself wide open sometimes when he's throwing punches. Thurman has almost no defense. Almost none. He has good footwork, but his defense is very lacking. You know, I don't see Thurman doing well against Pacquiao. Or if he does well, it's going to be a very tough fight. It's going to be a war, you know, for him. And he could fight Pacquiao on pay-per-view or Fox pay-per-view, Showtime pay-per-view. And if he gets destroyed, he could retire. If he wins and takes a lot of punishment, he could retire. You know, if he wins, win or lose, he could probably retire and just keep all the money that he made. It's up to him. It's up to Thurman. I personally don't care. I don't care. You know, I didn't talk about the Thurman fight against Lopez because it's just a waste of time. He's not fighting the guys I want him to fight. I want him to fight Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. Those fights aren't happening. So, I don't care. He already beat Sean Porter. He already beat Danny Garcia. The Sean Porter rematch should have happened 2 years ago. It should have happened immediately, like in late 2016 or early 2017, and then fight Danny Garcia. But it is what it is. Those fights should have happened. Those fights are done. And Danny Garcia should fight Adrian Broner. Both of those guys are becoming gatekeepers, stepping stones. Danny Garcia is becoming the stepping stone at welterweight, 147. But Danny Garcia is willing to fight everybody. He's fought a lot of cherry-picked fights, but he's willing to fight everybody. And so is Broner. And I think, the marketing and the promotion for that fight would be exciting because Danny Garcia is going to talk a lot of shit. Angel Garcia is definitely going to talk a lot of shit. Adrian Broner's going to talk mad shit. The whole promotion for that fight is going to be ignorant. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be full of buffoonery. And, it's going to be nuts. And it's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun to watch while it happens. Or the whole process of that fight happens. And the actual fight might be disappointing. You're going to have two guys that are just going to be trying to countering each other, trying to wait to land a really big punch, a really big shot. But I don't know. It could be a good fight. Danny Garcia's never really been in a boring fight. And Adrian Broner would know that he has to be Danny Garcia to get back into the win column because Broner hasn't won a fight in over 2 years. He hasn't won a fight in over 2 years. Broner hasn't officially won an actual fight since he beat Adrian Granados in Cincinnati in a 10-round fight. And it was only a 10-round fight because Broner couldn't make weight at 140 pounds. And he had to make the fight at 147 and made it a 10-round fight instead of a 12-round fight. Yeah. Think about that. I think that was like a split decision or a unanimous decision. Broner didn't even look good in that fight. And he lost to Mikey Garcia, clearly. And the judges' scorecards were perfect. The scorecards were perfect. I think two of them were a little bit too generous to Broner. I don't think Broner won 4 rounds. I only gave Broner 1 round, which was round 10 or round 11. I gave Mikey Garcia every other round. But Mikey Garcia got a draw against Jesse Vargas. I thought that Jesse Vargas won the fight. I gave Jesse Vargas 7 or 8 rounds. I understood why it was a draw because there were a couple swing rounds. But if I had to pick a winner, I would pick Jesse Vargas. And I thought Jesse Vargas won the fight. But it was a draw. And Broner lost to Manny Pacquiao, clearly. Clearly lost the fight. So Broner hasn't won a fight in 2 years. He fought Adrian Granados in February of 2017, y'all. It's been 2 years since Broner had a victory. 2 fucking years. So he needs to beat Danny Garcia. So I think he's going to go for broke. And Danny Garcia hits hard, but he doesn't hit as hard as Pacquiao. He doesn't hit as hard as Keith Thurman. He doesn't hit as hard as Errol Spence Jr. And you know what? If Broner was told to fight Errol Spence Jr., he would take the fight for a good amount of money. For $2 million, he would fight Errol Spence Jr. And Broner's a tough fighter. He's got a good chin. He took some good shots against Pacquiao. He's got a good chin. He's a tough kid. Tough guy. But he's so ignorant. He's so ignorant. He doesn't take the sport seriously. He doesn't take himself seriously. That's his biggest problem. That's his biggest flaw as a fighter. That's his biggest flaw as a person. But yeah, man, Keith Thurman. Oh, man. I'm just disappointed in Keith Thurman. I was not looking forward to Keith Thurman 2018. And 2019 might be a little bit better, but, got fucking destroyed. He didn't get destroyed. He got his ass kicked. Let's face it. He kicked Lopez's ass. He busted up his face, but Lopez kicked his ass too. Lopez kicked his ass in the second half of the fight. But, yep. And Pacquiao wants to fight Floyd Mayweather. And I'm looking forward to that rematch. I don't want to pay money to see it. But if it's happening, I'll see it at a bar for $20. I'll pay to see it as the cover charge and watch the fight. I mean, Mayweather and Pacquiao are past their physical prime. The first fight was a dud. It was a good technical fight, but it didn't reach the hype. It wasn't a great fight. And people that know boxing knew the fight was going to be one-sided. They knew Floyd Mayweather was going to win. You had all these people super excited, paying all this money, and Floyd Mayweather, show the world why he's so great, why his era is his era. His era from 1996 to 2015. 19 years. The only year he didn't fight was 2008. That's crazy. That's amazing. And the Mayweather-McGregor fight was a circus, but that was entertaining. It was a fun fight. But Pacquiao thinks he could beat Mayweather because Mayweather's 42. Mayweather's 42 years old. He's in his 40s. He's going to be 42 years old this month. So if that fight happens in July, Floyd Mayweather will be 42, Pacquiao will be 40 years old. So Pacquiao's like, I probably have just enough to beat Floyd Mayweather. If there's any fighter in the PBC roster that Pacquiao's going to beat, it's going to be Floyd Mayweather. They're both the same generation. They're the same age. They've been through the grind. Pacquiao's been fighting since he was 16 years old, since 1995. Floyd Mayweather has been fighting since he was 19 years old. You see? Yeah. He was 36 years old when he fought Mayweather. Mayweather was 38. Mayweather turned pro when he was 19 years old after the Olympics in 1996. Pacquiao turned pro in 1995. They're the same generation. So Pacquiao's like, I could fight Floyd Mayweather, probably get paid $60 or $80 million, make another close to $150 million on the back end on pay-per-view, keep the majority of the money and just retire. Because Pacquiao isn't having his money stolen by Bob Arum. He's not having his money taken away. So he could keep most of his money. He could keep most of his money now. Pacquiao got $160 million against Floyd Mayweather, and by the end of the month, by June 3rd of 2015, Pacquiao probably walked away with less than $40 million. Pacquiao's probably looking around like, this doesn't make any sense. I was specifically paid almost $200 million, and I walked away with less than 40. Like, what the fuck? And it's also Pacquiao's fault because he gives a lot of his money away. He gives a lot of his money to a church. He gives a lot of his money away to the church, to charity and shit like that. So a lot of that is his fault, but he knows that he should have walked away with close to $100 million because Floyd Mayweather was paid $300 million because Floyd Mayweather was paid $120 million paycheck, got another $100 million on the pay-per-view revenue, made another $100 million on the merchandising. That includes the TMT hats, the Money Team hats, the Money Team shirts, TBE hats, the best ever shirts. So Floyd Mayweather walked away with more than $300 million, somewhere between $350 million. He got to keep the majority of that money. And the only problem with Floyd Mayweather is that he doesn't pay his taxes. So the IRS comes in and says, hey, you got to pay us more of this money. Or you got to sell this house, you got to sell these cars. And Floyd doesn't want to do that. So he comes out every few years and fights for a lot of money so he can pay off the IRS because he's, such a fucking idiot that he doesn't pay the IRS. That's his problem. That's his problem. But, it's none of my business. I want Floyd Mayweather to retire with most of his money, or at least half of his money. I want Floyd Mayweather to sell all of his cars. I want Floyd Mayweather to just have 3 cars. 3 cars. Sell all the rest. Just keep 3 cars. And I mean all of his cars, because he has like 100 cars in Miami, 100 cars in Las Vegas, 100 cars in New York, 100 cars in Los Angeles. He's got almost 500 different cars that he's never going to drive. So I just want him to sell 497 cars. That's a shit ton of money he could get back. And just keep 3 cars. Car for him, car for his family, another car, just a floss. And that's the problem to me with Floyd. He flosses too much. He's 42 years old. He's had money way too long to be flossing like he does. That's why he's got people shooting him, trying to kick his ass, trying to kill him. You know, trying to steal men's wives and steal men's girls. You know, and of course, you know, the female is foul in that situation, but most dudes aren't going to see it like that. Most dudes are going to be really jealous and they're going to be pissed off. They're going to try and kill you. They're going to try and take your money and take what you got, or try to take back their woman, take back their wife, or take back their girlfriend. You know, so Floyd, he's got to stop doing that shit. I don't know why he does that. He's 42 years old. He's too old to be doing that shit. And he's had money for too long to be flossing like this. If I was suddenly paid $10 million, I wouldn't be buying a car. I'd probably buy an apartment. You know. I definitely would buy the next Xbox that's coming out, the next PlayStation 5. A lot of DVDs, Blu-rays, I guess.
Okay, anything else?
I would buy a lot more TVs too, probably. I buy a Roku TV, an Apple TV. Get all the streaming apps that I'm already on, but half the streaming apps are not even on Samsung. I got a Samsung TV. I can't even stream some of the apps that I got on my phone. You know, like the DC Universe app. Love that app. But anyways, let's talk about Floyd Mayweather. You know, the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, it's not... I still have Floyd Mayweather winning. He knows how to beat Pacquiao. Pacquiao looks so slow and so old and so one-dimensional against Adrian Broner. But Adrian Broner is just not a good fighter. That's the big problem. That's the big problem. Pacquiao was lunging in a lot, you know, jumping in head first almost, picking his feet up while throwing punches. Just doesn't look good. He just does not look good. So I don't know. I don't have Pacquiao. I mean, Floyd Mayweather didn't look great against Conor McGregor. You know, he didn't look good, but he was just stalling. He was just trying to let McGregor gas out, and he was probably expecting McGregor to try and come at him and throw a lot of wild punches. He didn't expect McGregor to try and counter him, so he's like, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna walk him down like a tank and throw a lot of body punches and gas him out by round 5. And Conor was gassed out by round 5, and he beat the shit out of him in the next 5 rounds. Knocked him out by round 10. Yeah. I think that would be it. Yeah. And Floyd Mayweather, he still has a lot of his reflexes. He still has great hand-eye coordination. You know? I mean, what are we going to do? But, yep. All right, y'all. I talked enough about the topics I wanted to talk about. I think Floyd Mayweather's going to beat Pacquiao. I think Pacquiao could beat Keith Thurman because Thurman lacks a lot of certain tangibles in his defense to deal with Pacquiao. I think Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia are going to dominate Pacquiao whenever that fight happens. And I think Pacquiao should just fight Floyd Mayweather, you know, make a shit ton of money and just retire for good. But those are my thoughts on Pacquiao fighting Mayweather and Thurman, Holly Holm, and Holly Holm fighting Amanda Nunes. Keith Thurman got exposed. What else did I talk about? Oh, yeah. Talked about a lot of other things. That's all I want to talk about tonight. I got to get off for now. I gotta eat some food, and then I might go live and make another video. You never know. I'm going to be here probably a good portion of the night for a good amount of time tonight. I'm going to be out at this bar and restaurant called Action Burger, which is a great place to get food. So this is Brian J. signing off for now. Yeah, George Page. Yeah, you're right. Thanks for coming in last minute. I guess I could stay on for another 5 minutes. But George Page, yes. Holly Holm, she's getting that shot. Women's featherweight and bantamweight is trash. It's trash. Women's featherweight is trash. Women's bantamweight is trash. You have no real fighters at women's bantamweight and women's featherweight. You know, nobody. Nobody. And Caitlin Vieira is injured. So Caitlin Vieira can fight Amanda Nunes, but she's injured. Mary Renault lost to Katsine Gano, and I don't know where Mary Renault is at. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what Tanya Evinger is doing. I think Tanya Evinger is supposed to fight Mary Renault or somebody. Supposed to fight somebody. I guess Mary Renault could try and fight Jermaine Durandamy. And Jermaine Durandamy only fights once a year. I don't know why. Maybe she's injury prone. Maybe she's dealing with injuries, but she doesn't fight a lot. But yeah, man, Amanda Nunes, Holly Holm. This is not the fight I wanted. I wanted Holly Holm to fight Jermaine Durandamy. I want Amanda Nunes to fight Chris Cyborg. A rematch against featherweight, have Chris Cyborg finish her contract, win or lose, and leave and go to PFL or Bellator. I think Chris Cyborg is just going to do that, you know? Because she's not going to wait around for another opponent. But yeah, man. Anyways, that's all I'm going to talk about tonight. I got to get some food, but I might make another video in the next hour. And yeah, I'll see y'all later. Talk to y'all later. Y'all have a good night. I might see y'all later. And this is Brian J. signing.